ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरू वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथामृतं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादा सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी नित्यानन्द नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निरविशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरक्षुषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दीनतारिणम्। So we are starting chapter 6 today. Texts 1 to 9 give the overview of how the progress gives the 1 to 9 talk about from the beginner to established states in yoga. 10 to 15 talk about Brahman realization. Next is Paramatma realization, 16 to 23. And then 24 to 32 talk about Bhagwan realization. 33 onwards, the Lord explains about the mind, the main obstacle in the yoga. 33 to 37, the Lord explains that. 38 to 45, the Lord talks about if the mind deviates, then what is the destination of such a yogi? And the last two verses, the Lord establishes that one who fixes his mind on Krishna is the topmost yogi. So this is grossly the division of this chapter. 6.1 Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashrita Karma Phalam कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चक्रियः. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obliged is in the renounced order of life, and he is a true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. In this chapter, the Lord explains that the process of the Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes that the process of Karma Yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the results of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity, because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. The limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the Supreme Whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi or the perfect yogi. The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties, and therefore they cease to perform agrihotra yagya, the fire sacrifice. But actually, they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. Similarly, the mystic yogi who practices the yoga system with half open eyes, ceasing all material activities, desires some satisfaction for his personal self. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way. Na dhanam na janam na sundari kavitam va jagadisha kamai mama janma janmanishwari bhavatad bhaktir hetuke tvai. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy a beautiful woman, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. In our journey back to the spiritual world, to the supreme abode of the Lord, one cannot escape from the material energy. One has to steer his way through the material energy. Just like in the material purview, we see promotion always follows a very good performance on a lower level. When a very good performance is shown on a lower level, then the promotion to the higher level is granted. So imagine the profile of a person. He thinks he's the CEO of a company, and and uh, and he only wants to behave as a CEO, and he waits till the world acknowledges that he's one, so that he can be hired as a CEO. That is not how things work, is it not? Somebody is just fresher pass out, and he has joined a big MNC company, and he thinks he's the CEO of the company. Nobody is going to acknowledge that. He has to first undergo work as a trainee, work good, then work as an assistant, then lead, and then so on, manager, so on. Then only one is promoted. The same way, one cannot deny the material energy. One has to learn to transform it. It cannot be denied. So therefore, the idea of shunning everything is uh, not at all a considerable, or not at all an idea worth considering. Shunning everything. So therefore, the Lord is explaining that such a person who lights no fire, he performs no duty. He doesn't perform any duty, doesn't light any fire. Uh, and such a person is not at all progressing on the path of yoga. And therefore, the Lord is highlighting working as a divine offering. So now the point is to be able to clearly present, or to be able to clearly portray this idea, the Lord starts explaining Ashtanga Yoga. Because till now, the thing is that, okay, you give up everything, you are given a material world, you're in the spiritual world. The Lord is telling, no, no, it doesn't work that. The point is, we are bound in the material world. If you are entangled, then you have to disentangle first. That's the point. We are glued to this material world. You just cannot have free flow motion. One may think he is having free flow motion, but he is glued. He is not moving forward. That is why the Lord is belittling the position of a dry sannyasi, because he may be thinking that he is moving forward, but he is glued and he doesn't know, and he thinks he is moving forward. That's the problem. So therefore, the Lord explains now. Then the Lord is trying to highlight now. He's trying to understand. The Lord is explaining Ashtanga, so what is the highlight focus of Ashtanga? The highlight focus of Ashtanga is that so much of adjustments you have to do with the material energy to come to the point of understanding that you are not the body, and to come to the point of understanding that you are not the mind, and to come to the point of understanding that, let me meditate on the Lord in the heart. So to do that, so much of material juxtaposition is required. So much of material maneuvering is required. You control the postures, you control the airs, you give up this, give up that, and you don't give up this, don't give up that. So, and lead a very austere life. Ashtanga, very austere life. So in bhakti, austere not required. Sincere is good enough. But in Ashtanga, sincere not good enough. You have to be austere. You just cannot be sincere. You have to be austere. It's Ashtanga. So you see, the Lord is explaining material energy. You think you can drive away material energy so easily? That's why the Lord is highlighting on Ashtanga. The Lord is highlighting. You want to maneuvering material energy is not a cakewalk. People take this, so many 50,000 years, of that order. It should not. So therefore, the Lord explains that yes, steering one's way out of material energy is not easy, and one has to work very hard for that. One has to work very, very hard for that. And therefore, the Lord is telling that this idea of if I don't touch matter, then I am liberated is not going to work. What you are not going to touch matter? You are glued to matter. So you have to break the ties. You have to unlock the deadlocks. The same matter with which is entangling. The same matter has to transform into a disentangling aspect, is it not? Or a disentangling itinerary. And you can only do that when you offer that matter to me. So the lesson from the understanding of Ashtanga Yoga Now, when we are going to see the yogi very austere, he's just wearing deer skin. He's not very sitting high, not very sitting low. He's eating very, very less things. So when we see such a yogi, he's sitting straight, all the chakras, and he's wondering, okay, this chakra, the illumination is, this much, and this chakra, and this chakra, this chakra, and so meticulous explanation. When we understand, we can understand actually that the 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 disentangling is not a cakewalk. That means getting out of this material world is not a joke. Getting out of this material world is not a joke. So so in so therefore, now the point is that in Ashtanga, the no objection certificate from material energy is a prerequisite mandate before entering or putting one's foot on the spiritual realm. Is it not like that? So in that sense, to say that in Ashtanga, the it's like somehow or the other have the material conquest and then touch the spiritual plane. That's Ashtanga. In Bhakti, the focus is different. In Bhakti, the principle is you touch the spiritual plane, get strength from that, and disentangle progressively. So, what has to be achieved is the same thing. It's not two different things, it's the same path. Ashtanga and Bhakti. What has to be achieved is the same thing, fixity on the spiritual plane and uprooting out from the material plane. Uprooting out from the material plane, fixity on the spiritual plane. Both the yoga systems, any yoga system will follow this protocol. But now, the point is in Ashtanga, it says, okay, first get out somehow or the other, then come in. Bhakti is saying, okay, peep in, a little bit, peep in as much as you can, get some strength, use that strength to disentangle yourself. Like that. And when you get a bit more disentangled, then come in a bit more, take a little more spiritual strength, in that way work out with the process. Effectually, both are doing the same thing. But Ashtanga becomes so rigorous because there is no help. In Bhakti, the spiritual energy is there. In Ashtanga, there is no spiritual energy. You don't get spiritual energy when you do, asanas or pranayama. No spiritual energy there, is it not? It is just somehow or the other, like that. That's the difference. So therefore, we need to understand. Like if one thinks that, okay, I can just read scriptures and chant the holy names and done, then that's not a very intelligent understanding. Why? Because in the first place, one will not be able to do it. That's first place. It's not so easy to do it. Okay, one can memorize Bhagavatam with material motivation. So now I want to become very powerful Kathakar and I want to become very famous and all that. That's fine, that's possible. But just chanting or just hearing Krishna Katha for purification may not be possible so much. One may get one get highly saturated. Therefore, the Lord is recommending what? The Lord is recommending actions. Why? Because when you act, with spiritual strength, then many things can be done. First of all, the spiritual substance gets digested. The spiritual substance get digested and installed when it is when we act. If one gets realization, that means there is installation. Secondly, one can testify how much spiritual substance actually I got. So one will be thinking, I am attending morning program, I am chanting 16 rounds, 64 rounds, 32 rounds. Then go and do seva after that. When you go and do seva, then how you deal with others, how you handle situation, what type of perspectives you see things are. By that you can understand how much I have gathered or with what attitude I chanted. It is very important. Many times we may think that we are doing sadhana. Many times we may just assume that I have a great taste for holy name. Like that. So, but we may not be in the right mood of taking shelter of the holy name. We may not be in a fervent mood. We may have other motivations also. Some people may take chanting just because it gives them an excuse for being lazy. Is it not? That's the point. Just because it gives them excuse for being lazy. That way. Because if you just show the bead bag, at least somebody will give you prasad. Is it not? Go to any ISKCON temple, show the bead bag, show some tilak, stand in line for half an hour, you get prasad. Is it not? So, not a big deal, is it not? That way. So, the point to note is that we need to testify also. Okay, holy name is oceanic mercy, but how much patrata we had or how much we got, कुछ मिला कि नहीं? या केवल है ना लेके आए कि नहीं, है ना? केवल हाई बोल के आ गए ना? Is it not? So that is why the ground of action is very important. So this is the reason the ground of action is so important. So now many times people may say that, okay, so you see when a person is practicing spiritual life, now we clearly need to differentiate between practice of spiritual life is not material engagement. Because practice of spiritual life means using matter in service of Krishna. We're not discussing about sense gratification. We're not discussing about sense gratification. Sense gratification has pathway to hell. We're discussing about service to Krishna, action. In its right orientation, in its right direction. That is what we are discussing about. Now, many times people have this argument that you are just giving up mental energy. You are just running away from it. This will not be stable, and you are a coward. Be in everything and be unaffected. Be in everything and be unaffected. And you can quote verses to instantiate that. Padmapatra Vamsa. Yeah. So many times people say this, especially when I was joining the temple as a trainee. That time, many relative acquaintances were having this argument. Oh, you're not watching movies, you're bogus. You watch and not be lusty. That is the caliber, the testimony of your, whether you are practicing anything or not. कुछ है भी नहीं कि substance की नहीं है कि नहीं, like that. May look appealing, may look provoking. You know? You know? And they were saying, prove yourself, prove it, prove it, है कि नहीं, like that. So, just the point actually, is it not? Prove yourself. So now the question is that now the argument is very the argument appears to be provoking, and the argument the argument is very articulately put. But the argument does not at all take into account that matter does not take into account that how the disentangling effect from matter is going to be brought about. That is the idea. Indulgence is never going to disentangle. That being the case, no. So that kind of philosophy is Sambhogsa Samadhi, bogus. Is it not? It says you put so much ghee, the fire will extinguish. We don't understand the rate at which we put ghee is very minuscule in comparison to rate at which the desires increase. You see the level of conductivity difference. It's an order difference actually. Like that. So it's like you are comparing a millimeter to a kilometer. There is no comparison actually. The rate at which the touch with spiritual energy. You may say, okay, I am not getting affected and all. Your millimeter moves are not going to work. The moment you touch an indulgence, the materialistic desires, the entanglement, the provocations, the contaminations increase so powerfully actually. So the ghee is not the ghee analogy not going to work out again like that. So this is the point actually. Now therefore one needs to understand that when we deal with material energy, we are not talking about indulgence. Indulgence is never going to have a purification effect. But we are talking about touching material energy, not just touching, we are talking about transforming material energy. We are talking about an engineering science. We are not talking about a hedonistic, satiation. We are talking about a science. You touch the matter and transform it, just like a chemist. And just like a chemist, he can take matter and he can transform it into a chemically different with different properties, is it not? He can take different raw materials and produce a completely different output. Raw materials which have no utility value or less utility value, and a finished product which has very high utility value, be it in the area of medicine, be it in the area of machineries, lubricants, anything. That is the idea, is it not? So we are talking about engineering sciences, is it not? We're talking about engineering sciences. The engineering. So therefore one should not uh, get swayed off by the idea that okay, you know, sometimes our devotees ought to feel little bit metal energy fine, you know. No, little or more is not the question actually. Metal energy for sense gratification is not no, not at all recommended, is it not? What is recommended is metal energy for service, like that. If you think, okay, I can take tasty prasad because prasad purified, but unless you have a proper consciousness that it is prasad, it is not prasad then, you know? Like that. So sense gratification and metal energy, that is never a recommendation actually. Okay, you may feel good. If you have right consciousness, you take prasad, you will feel it tasty also. But then if you are running behind it just because you get the taste, you know, just because you get the taste, then it is not going to work out, is it not? Because then one will get addicted. One becomes a taste monger instead of service. From a seva vritti, one may go to bhoga vritti again. And bhogvancha kari jhapatiya dhari maya again. And Maya will say, "Oh, you want sense gratification? Yeah. Now you come here. Now I will take care of you." So that's the whole idea actually. So therefore, Krishna consciousness has to be very nicely understood. But the Lord is giving guarantee, you have the right consciousness, you offer him to me, you will feel satisfied materially. It's not that the devotee of proper consciousness is, his taste buds get locked up. No, his taste buds are active only. Like that. No. But he's not a taste monger. He wants to serve. That's the difference actually. So therefore, this aspect of action has to be understood. Action is not not a recluse ground कि चलो थोड़ा सा तो सांस मिल जाए. Action